We said last night that we'll look a bit about the life of Imam Ali alayhi salam because these are his nights. So it's important to remind us of the history of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and particularly for our youth and youngsters who are here, so that they should also know and remind of what they have learned in their schools, in Sunday schools, so on and so forth. We said we'll divide the life of Imam Ali alayhi salam in 5 stages. The first stage is from his birth till the Bi'that, till the Prophet went to Medina. We spoke about that last night in quite a bit of detail. And the last event that we mentioned was that when Prophet left Makkah to Medina, when he migrated. And a peculiar and particular ayah of the Quran also confirms that among those there are people who will sell their soul for seeking pleasure of Allah, which is وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي نَفْسَهُ. They sell their soul for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it was very dangerous for Imam Ali alayhi salam to sleep in the bed of the Prophet, because they had planned to murder the Prophet, right? So Prophet went to Medina, and then from there is the period, the second life of Imam Ali alayhi salam could be searched in from the time of migration till the demise of the Prophet, till the death of the Prophet. And the third is from the death of the Prophet till the Khilafat of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And then from Khilafat till his Shahadat. So these are the 5 different domains or sections that we could reflect. Now, from the time of the migration till the death of the Prophet is a very powerful period, right? It's about 10 and odd years, because Prophet, migrated 10 years after giving tabligh, after teaching about Islam in Mecca, right? He was about 50 or so, and then he died at the age of 63. So that's about 10, 13 years of his period was in Medina, where Imam Ali alayhi salam was there as well. So what happens is that as soon as Prophet and Muslims from Mecca migrated to Medina, they had no property, they had no houses, because they just came with their clothes to Medina, because in Mecca, everything was in Mecca. So when the Prophet announced that everyone should call each other the brothers and share the property, share the houses, share the rides, animals, whatever they had. And Prophet also mentioned that the brotherhood should be in accordance to their capacity and to their understanding and to their caliber. Now, as it was announced, everybody recited the pronouncement of brotherhood, and no one was left but Imam Ali alayhi salam out of all. Now, the interesting part here is that, it's about Meccan with the Medinans. The brotherhood is of the Mecca people from Mecca going to, but Prophet also went from Mecca, right? And there was Imam Ali alayhi salam. He said, okay, what about, who's going to recite the pronouncement of brotherhood? Then the Prophet said to him that you did not create the bounds of brotherhood between me and another, right? It's according to the compatibility. He says that, the Prophet have created the bounds between others because of the compatibility. And the Prophet replied that you are my brother in both worlds, in this world and the next world as well. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Why did Prophet choose him? There were others as well. And why did Prophet use this as a reference point? Although, technically speaking, it's the brotherhood of the Meccans with the Medinans as such. But here Prophet made that announcement that Ali is my brother. Prophet, if you look at Prophet's life, if you really read about the life of the Prophet was an amazing, genius personality. Yes, we believe him to be Masoom, he was the Prophet, he was divinely guided, but even the way he carried himself and the way he dealt with things, whether that be a battle, whether that be dealing with political issues or religious issues, right? He would do an act, expecting something else to happen, and that will happen. He will plan it this way. In terms of his planning, he will plan a battle, like for example, the first battle of Badr itself. Look at this. And we are talking about there were 27 battles fought, by Imam Ali alayhi salam. 27 battles after Prophet went from Mecca to Medina. There were 27 battles, and all of these battles were imposed on Islam. Prophet never initiated a battle. All these battles were imposed. There was only one battle which Prophet wanted to initiate, and that even did not happen. That is the last battle, which is the Battle of Tabuk, in which Imam Ali alayhi salam was appointed as a governor in Medina. He did not participate in that battle. But that battle for him also was victorious. In what way it was victorious? Prophet mobilized troops and were going to the borders of Rome, because the Romans wanted to attack, Islamic nation, Islamic nation. Now Prophet said it's better that we go meet the Romans at the border. So he mobilized people from Medina, and he was going towards the borders of Rome, because Islam has spread that far, right? And it has spread that far. And now Prophet took a lot of people and appointed Imam Ali alayhi salam in Medina and said, "You're going to stay here because I'm not here. If something happens to us, you will be in the capital to take care of things. And it's very important that somebody strong stays in Medina." And then the people started complaining that, Prophet did not take you, they left you alone here. So Imam Ali alayhi salam met the Prophet on his way to Tabuk, on his way to Rome. He said that people are complaining, people are saying this, people are mocking me, they are making fun of me. Then the Prophet said that, "Oh Ali, you are like Harun to Musa. When Musa went, he appointed Harun as his representative." Right? The only difference is that after me, there is no Nabi. Like for Musa, after Musa there was Prophet. But after me there is no Nabi. You're like Harun to me. Once again, Prophet established that. Now, and the Battle of Tabuk never happened. Battle of Tabuk never took place. Was it that Prophet planned it this way? Wanted to show to the people that I'm leaving Medina and Ali is the leader after me. So this whole exercise of mobilizing and going towards Rome, was it to really make this point? Perhaps. Because Ali came out and met the Prophet, and Prophet mentioned this hadith, and this is well recorded hadith. So he leaves the hadith as well, and also he leaves a practical example as well. When I'm not in the state, the leader after me is Ali. Right? So was it for this? Now, Prophet have done a number of occasions you will find Prophet, he's doing something, but he's giving some other message. For example, the first battle, the Battle of Badr itself, in which Sheikh Mufid says that 70 odd people were killed. Even the Ahl Sunnah recordings in history, 70 odd were killed. 36 of them was killed by Imam Ali. Right? There were 313 against 950 to 1,000 people. The first battle. And how important is the first battle? That if Islam is defeated, so much of morale will be dropped, right? And here is the Muslims who are just 313, and there are 1,000, right? And now what happens is that the reason of the Battle of Badr is that when Abu Sufyan was in Syria, and he wanted to take the goods from Syria to Mecca, and in Mecca, properties of Muslims were looted, things were confiscated of Muslims, right? So now the route from Syria going back to Mecca was through Medina. So the Prophet said, let's ambush them and let's take the property which belongs to the Muslims, which technically speaking, a person have the right to do that, from a human rights or whatever, law, that if we look at it, a person have the right. Even within the Islamic Sharia, as an Islamic law as well, right? Even here, for example, the bailiffs will come to your house. If you haven't paid a debt, the bailiffs have the right to come and take whatever they want and sell that, and basically they clear their debt. That's a regular general law that is out there. So the Prophet said, okay, now as Abu Sufyan is going to go back with the goods back to Mecca, and he has to pass through the route which is through Medina. Now we're going to ambush and take the property that belongs to the Muslims. So technically speaking, it's all right. However, one may think that, well, this looks a bit not really akhlaqi as such, looting the caravan. It doesn't look really, like from an akhlaqi point of view, it doesn't look right as well. Now, the point is that Prophet once again mobilized the troops and planned to go to the highway where the goods will go by. But Prophet said, I wanted to warn the Makkans that your trade routes are not safe. It was a warning that the Prophet wanted to give to them, that your trade route that you're going to go from here, it's not safe. And this, somehow reached, according to some narratives, to Abu Sufyan, and he also took a different route. In any case, the caravan of Abu Sufyan was saved. It wasn't going to be ambush or attack. But what they did was that a person went inside Mecca, he slit the throat of the animal or camel or whatever it was, put the blood on it, and he says, the Muslims are preparing for war, so on and so forth, and our caravan is not safe. So he kind of raged people's sort of anger and avenge against what's happening. And then they started mobilizing in Mecca, and they came. And they had left. They got the news, they said, well, it's too late, now let's go fight and kill them all. So when they came to the battle, 313 against 1,000, they announced that we would like to have a fight. And it was the style of the battle that it was 1-to-1, right? One person will come, another person will. So Prophet sent 3 men. And then when this 3 men was sent, Abu Lahab or Abu Sufyan, Abu Lahab announced that, well, we want somebody of our caliber. Because they have sent, 3 men who were from their family of, Bani Umayyah. They were Utbah, who was actually the father of Hind and wife of Abu Sufyan. And it was son of Utbah Walid, and Shayba, who was the older brother of Utbah, all related to Hind and Abu Sufyan. These 3 were sent to fight. Then the Prophet sent Hamza bin Abdul Harith ibn Abdul Muttalib, Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, and Ubaidah ibn Haris ibn Abdul Muttalib, and Ali ibn Abi Talib ibn Abdul Muttalib. All of the children of Abdul Muttalib, right? And here, obviously, Hamza was victorious. Hazrat Ubaidah ibn Haris, was Shaheed. And then Imam Ali alayhi salam was victorious as well. And in one of the letters, he writes to Muawiyah, when Muawiyah was fighting with Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, the sword which was used to kill your grandfather, Utbah, your uncle Walid, and your brother Hanzala, who was also killed in the same battle, all in the course of battle, is still in my possession. He kind of warned him, for the treacheries and the tricks that Muawiyah was doing, was against Imam Ali alayhi salam. Then you have the Battle of Uhud right after that. One may say that, Muslims lost the Battle of Uhud, but losing a battle is when you kill the king, so to speak. But the Prophet wasn't killed, king as the leader. Prophet was injured and he took refuge in the mountains, and the Arabs, the mushrikeen, the polytheists, when they came, they just, left the Prophet. They didn't do anything to the Prophet. But in this battle, Imam Ali alayhi salam played a very crucial role, apart from Zulfiqar coming, apart from, protecting the life of the Prophet, all of that which we are aware of. But in this battle, it says that, Imam Ali alayhi salam, the 6th Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam says that the flag bearers from the Uhud side, the flag bearers are very important to raise the morale of the soldiers, because they will watch the flag and it's moving further. And so here it says that, and they are well trained and strongly protected and guarded. And here they say that Imam Ali alayhi salam killed 7 of the flag bearers, one after the other, which is very difficult, right? one after the other. Imam Ali alayhi salam killed the 7 flag bearers, and then eventually he even killed one of the strongest one, who was known as Bani Abdul Dar. And then in one of the letters, which is he mentions, or in which Ibn Athir also mentions, historian, that the person who defeated the flag bearers of the Quraysh was Ali alayhi salam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In a narrative from Sheikh Saduq, Imam Ali alayhi salam mentions that after the death of the second Khalifa, in order to select the third Khalifa, he writes, I bind you all to this oath before Allah, was there any person except me who killed 9 flag bearers of the tribe of Bani Abdul Dar in the battle of Uhud? Then he added, so this is the third or the second Khalifa when it happened. When the third was selected, Imam Ali wasn't. He's saying, who was there to kill 9? And then he added something else, and that's very important. When the slave of this, who was Su'aib, and he came in rage, his eyes were red, and his mouth was foaming, saliva in anger, and he said, my revenge is by killing the Prophet. Nobody went to fight him, but I did. And when I went there, we took few blows and eventually gave him a blow which cut into 2 pieces. Right? Once again, Imam Ali reminded them, right? So this happened in Uhud. Right? After that is the Battle of Ahzab. There are 26 battles actually. But we are looking at very crucial battles. In every battle, the victorious one was no one but Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Right? Now in Ahzab was a very important battle, because in this, why it's Ahzab? Because it's Hizb. Hizb means groups. Ahzab is a plural. So all of the polytheists and the different groups, including the Jews here, also joined, and they alliance together, and they went towards Medina. And in a way, they surrounded Medina. Not really surrounded as such, because they dig the trenches. It was here where which is the other name of Ahzab is also Khandaq, the Battle of Khandaq. And here we know what happened, right? After that, there were 3 who came, to fight. And one of them was Amr ibn Abdawat. And when Amr ibn Abdawat came, nobody dared going to fight. 3 times he shouted in front of the tent of the Prophet. Nobody went. But eventually, all 3 times Imam Ali was getting up. Once again, you have Prophet trying to prove something. Everybody was quiet, but it was Ali who stood. And then what did Prophet do? Prophet gave his own sword. Prophet tied his own amama. Prophet gave his own armor. And then he said 100% of Iman is against 100% of Kufr right now. Right? And it was in this battle where the Prophet said that one strike of Ali in the battle of Khandaq, in the battle of Ahzab, is better than the worship of the Saqalain, of the 2 worlds, basically. All of the angels, just one strike. Not the whole, not his presence in the whole battle. Just one strike of his. And imagine how many strikes he has done in the battle of Khandaq, right? That is Ali. And these are all the narratives of the Prophet, which are recorded in common books, in both books. Then who else can be other than Man kuntu mawla fahaza aliyun mawla, right? So here, when he faces, Amr ibn Abdawat, he says, as a Quraysh, we are all, I have 3 wishes for you, if you listen to Amr, as you have come to battle, right? And he says, these 3 are: 1, you accept Islam. Number 2 is you go back. Don't waste your time here, you go back. I have nothing to do with you, right? Then the first one, he says, of course not. I have come here to, fight and kill the Prophet. That's what he wanted. His intention was. And the second, he said that, well, this will be, it's a timid act. And what would be the women of Quraysh? They will also never do something like that. Leave aside me. And the third, he said, okay, as you are on the mount, as you are on the steed, get down from the horse. get down from the steed and we fight. And then he agreed on that, and they fought with each other. And the whole battle and what happened, and eventually when Amr spit on on Imam, he left him there. He did not kill him, although he had the right to kill him as well. But he wanted to get rid of the sort of rage and anger. Perhaps he did not want his nafs to be involved in his act. Then that act and that zarba is better than ibadat saqlain. If in my zarba, if in my actions, my nafs is involved, then what good is that, right? So one have to be away from nafs. So Ali said, okay, I left him, and then I killed him, right? So that is the battle of Ahzab. Then you have what you call right after that is the Khaybar. Khaybar was also once again, what happened eventually. So in every battle, the personality that's protruding out, the personality that's clearly through and through, in all of Islam, in all of companions, is no one but Ali ibn Abi Talib, right? And in this as well, there's something special happens, right? In the battle of Ahzab, something special happened. Battle of Badr, something special happened to point out to who Ali is. In Tabuk, something special happens to point out who Ali is. In the battle of Khaybar as well, he wasn't well. He was ill, right? And then eventually they said to the Prophet that this is what's happening, that even after that, you find that, they said he's ill. Then eventually Prophet, he himself prayed and he gave the flag, and he announced it, right? I'm going to give the flag to someone, who's shuja, who's all of these qualities, right? But eventually nobody came. He asked for Ali. He was ill. He put his saliva on. He had some sort of eyes. His eyes were not well, right? He has an eye. And then he put the saliva of his mouth, Prophet's mouth, in the eyes of Imam Ali alayhi salam, which was cured. And then eventually he gave the standard, the alam, to Ali ibn Abi Talib. And then he fought. And he was victorious over these forts as well, right? Once again, now the other is the ambassador and deputy of the Prophet. Prophet sent a message to, it says in Surah Tawbah, you will find this verses, where Bara'a, to the Meccans, right? And in this, the message was sent by the first Khalifa. And as this message was sent and it was halfway, Prophet sent a delegation to stop them. He was stopped with this message. And then this message was given to Ali ibn Abi Talib, that he should go and take this message. The first Khalifa returns back to the Prophet, and he returns back to the Prophet and he says that, it's so, he was disappointed. When Abu Bakr was recalled from his delivery of the Prophet's message, he became very upset. And upon returning to Medina, he went to the Prophet and began to complain. He said, you saw me worthy of doing this work, but no time had passed when you dismissed me and set me aside. Why? What happened? Then he says that the Prophet answered in response, the angel Jibreel came down and said that besides me, which is the Prophet, or someone from or is from me, someone who is from me, no one else has the authority of this mission. Alusia Baghdadi, that's the book, which is a Sunnah book, right? No one, me or someone who is from me. Nisa'ana wa nisa'akum. Abna'ana wa abna'akum. Wa anfusana wa anfusakum. Who did Ali took? Who did Prophet took? He took Siddiqa Kubra, he took Hassan and Hussein. When he said, wa anfusana wa anfusakum, he took Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And he said, Ali is my nafs, right? So here as well, once again, the emphasis of that. So Prophet did not leave any room to make clear the leadership of Islam after the Prophet, right? And then, it's quite important to reflect upon the different eras of the Imams, right? Right after the passing of the Prophet. As we don't have time to look into every battle that's there, in every battle, Imam Ali alayhi salam, like for example, Surah Adiyat, wal Adiyat dabha, the way Imam Ali fought, right? Prophet was, the wahi was being descended. Jibreel was bringing the wahi to these verses of the Quran is actually based upon the actions of Ali. Because Quran is nothing, either the actions of the Ahl Bayt alayhi salam is seen in the Quran, or the Quran is exactly seen in the actions of Ahl Bayt. So sometimes the Ahl Bayt does something that becomes the verse of the Quran. Ali gave the ring in the ruku, that becomes the verse of the Quran. Ahl Bayt gave the food to the charity, those becomes the verses of the Quran. Ali fought in the battle, those becomes in Wal Adiyat, the chapters of the Quran, right? So there were other 26 battles as well, in which in every battle you find Imam Ali alayhi salam's role being played there. Now, after the demise of the Prophet, what we have to look at it is that how Imam Ali alayhi salam, it was like a 25 odd years. And it is this period where you find how Imam Ali alayhi salam trained his ashab and people. Like for example, at the time when he became the Khalifa, he established Shurtatul Khams, a group of soldiers who were given the name of Shurtatul Khams. There were 5,000 to 6,000 of them. Habib ibn Mazahir was one of the leaders of the Shurtatul Khams, right, at that time. And then which they helped them against fighting, Muawiyah and what do you call the Khawarij and all that, the three, Mariqin, Naqitin, the three battles which we had, which we can look at later on. So in this period, of 25 odd years where he was silent, he wasn't saying anything, right? He performed in training his ashab, teaching them, working hard, digging up wells to feed the poor people, assisting and helping the Islamic rulers or leaders who were there, advising them. You see them advising them. Compilation of the Quran and the du'as that we have, and spirituality and manawiyat that we find in regards to the personality of Imam Ali alayhi salam. It's seen in this period. Because his khilafat was, how many years? 4 to 5 years or something? Not much. That was the only period of his khilafat. But the most of the period was, he was silent, where his haqq was usurped, where his right was usurped. Now, in this period as well, if you look at, that could be divided into the era of imamat actually. The imamat, the first is the period where the sabr of Imam Ali alayhi salam, so that is the sabr of imamat that we should see, that how an imam was sabir, was patient in front of all the things that was happening. The second era is actually the era of leadership. Yes, he led for a little while. So how did he lead? What sort of leadership role he played? And then you have Imam Hassan and Mushtaba alayhi salam also leading, right? And then the third is the era where there is the short, peaceful era, where there's a pact between Imam Hassan and Muawiyah, which was about 20 years or so. 10 years during the time of Imam Hassan, 10 years after the death of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, right? So in this peaceful period, how the imams behaved and what happened, to the extent where, the propagation was against, to the extent where they came and, killed the very grandson of the Prophet. It was this era, right? And then finally is the era where we see it continues after the Imam Hussein's martyrdom, till we see today how imams behaved, how they trained, how they taught. So these are the 4 different eras that we find. Now, in terms of the leadership, we don't have much of a time. Inshallah, we'll look at the era of what exactly Imam Ali alayhi salam advised and did during the era of Khilafat, right? He was patient. Khutbah Shaqshaqiyya is clearly there, because there were people claiming themselves to be prophets right after the death of the Prophet. Now imagine if there be a civil war and you have other peoples claiming themselves to be the Prophet, and you have the danger of the Rome as well attacking Muslims as well. Prophet, had organized a battalion with Osama to send to the borders of Rome, which was not going. People were saying, "Oh, Prophet, we want to leave you alone," so on and so forth. But Prophet wanted some people to leave Medina in order for the transition to take place. But eventually they did, eventually the battalion went. After the demise of the Prophet, they asked, Prophet have done this, shall we still send Osama and the other people, soldiers there, or shall we not? They were perplexed. So they asked the Imam. So Imam said, yes, when Prophet have decided to do something, we have to do that. Send them. It is during the reign of the first Khalifa. He did that, right? And other advices that we find that Imam Ali alayhi salam was continuously, advising, teaching the Quran, taking care of the Ummah and the poor people. And the era where you find the last few years, once again you see Imam Ali alayhi salam being the oppressed. The leadership was oppressed, right? And eventually he was cheated in the arbitration, and then he kept himself in Kufa, where you find Ibn Muljim, committing that horrendous act on Imam Ali. It's the night where Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein buries our Imam. It's that night tonight. It's very difficult for Hassan and Hussein. Ali is our father. It's like losing a father. The feeling that we should have in our heart, it should be like that we have lost such a great personality, the first Imam of ours. And we are here to give condolences to our Imam of our time, to his great grandson, the 12th Imam. We are here to reflect and cry and shed our tears. Heart really renders when you think of a man like Ali on deathbed, about to leave this dunya. And when he leaves the dunya, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein there. And Imam Ali alayhi salam says, I am seeing Rasulullah is here. Oh, my children, don't cry. The one who I was waiting for all my life, my beloved Fatima is here. I could see Fatima is here. Don't cry. He's condoling his children. Because they say that Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he buried Fatima, he said, oh Fatima, my life after this is like these dark nights. I will never put a perfume. They say Ali never put a perfume after Fatima died. Because the bond between Ali and Fatima was so strong. He loved Fatima so much. So it was so difficult for him. It was a very long period. And Ali was waiting for Fatima. And the time have come that he says, oh, Fatima is here. I'm leaving. I'm desperate to leave. Rasulullah is here. But he is leaving, but we are becoming orphan. And that happens that day that when Imam Ali alayhi salam exactly mentioned how to give ghusl, how to give kafan, how to raise the funeral, how to take the funeral, the casket. Nobody was there in front to lift the tabut of the Imam. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein were in the back. The front, there were two angels who lifted the tabut. And it stopped at a particular place where the grave was already dig open. In the whole history of man, a funeral never happened like this. That the tabut was not lifted from the front. It was only Ali's tabut. In the whole history of mankind, the grave wasn't ever digged up ready for somebody. It was that very grave in which Adam and Nuh alayhi salam was buried. And then look at this, the oppression on Ali alayhi salam, that his grave was unknown till the 6th Imam period. Nobody knew where it was, right? And then eventually when Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein buried and were returning back in that jungle, in that desert, in that wilderness, they saw an old man sitting. And then he said, what are you doing? Who are you? He said, because this old man had such a bad disease and illness, they kicked him out. He says that I've been here for 3 days. My friend has not come to see me. He says, who's your friend? Well, I am blind. I cannot see my friend. But what I can say is that the way you're speaking, oh man, Imam Hassan was speaking to him. He spoke exactly like you. And here Imam Hassan realizes that it was no one but my father. What does he used to do? When he used to come, he used to bathe me. He used to clean me. He used to feed me with his own hands. He used to speak with me about the troubles of this world. And I used to speak to him about the pains and sorrows of this world. We used to cry and sit together and speak to each other. He hasn't come for the past 3 days. He says, you know who that was? Who it was? It was the Khalifa of the time. This man said, really, it was him? I didn't realize. He never introduced himself to me. He just called me as his friend. And then finally, we have just buried him. So he started crying and he said, can you take me to his grave? Then he took him to his grave and he started hitting his head and putting the sand of the grave of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and cried so much that he passed away. He left this world and he joined his agha and his mawla. Ala lanatullah ala qawm az-zalimin sayalamul ladina zalimu an yamunqalimin yanqalibun. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة لأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات. بسم الله.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Before I can invite our brother Riaz, who's from a charity called Hand on Heart, I would like to make a quick announcement about the program after iftar. We have Urdu Majlis will start at 9:30, inshallah, where we have Janab Sayyid Ali Kazim will recite from Urdu Majlis, and this will continue up until 11 o'clock, and the Amal of Shabai Qadr will start at 11:15, and that will continue until Fajr. So inshallah I'll make another announcement after iftar. Now if I could invite brother Riaz Hussain, who's from a charity called Hand on Heart, he's going to make a quick announcement, inshallah. If you can all please recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa. Brother Riaz Hussain, if you're outside, let us take this moment to recite Surah Al-Fatiha once and Surah Al-Ikhlas three times for all our marhumeen, especially for the marhumeen of tonight's iftar, sponsored by Sayyid Talib Shah Sahab, Ashwaranam Road, Sayyid Razak Hussain Shah, marhum, Noor Ahmad Khan, Farooq Ahmad, and Sayyid Ikram Rizvi. If you can please recite Surah Al-Fatiha once and Surah Al-Ikhlas three times for all these marhumeen. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمद. इस मौके का फ़ायदा उठाते हुए आप लोगों की गोशगुजार कर दूं कि हमारा माह मुबारक रमज़ान का जो प्रोग्राम होता है, जो यकम रमज़ान मुबारक से शुरू होता है और 30 रमज़ान मुबारक तक जो है वो जारी रहता है। इसमें तकरीबन 6:30 से प्रोग्राम शुरू होता है, जिसके तिलावत कुरान करीम से एक जुज़ जो है वो कुरान करीम का रोज़ाना तिलावत किया जाता है। उसके बाद दुआ इफ्तिताह होती है, और दुआ इफ्तिताह के बाद जो है वो पहले तकरीबन 16-17 दिन उर्दू के लेक्चर थे, और अभी 17 रमज़ान मुबारक से लेके टिल द एंड ऑफ रमज़ान वी हैव आगा हुज्जतुल इस्लाम शेख मिर्ज़ा अब्बास में 10 इंशाअल्लाह। तो अगले 10 दिन जो है वो इसी तरह प्रोग्राम का आगाज़ 6:30 से और ये नमाज मगरिब बैन तक जो है वो, उसके बाद इफ्तार, और इफ्तार के साथ प्रोग्राम जो है उसका अख्ताम होगा। तो पूरे 30 डेज़ जो है वो ये प्रोग्राम हमारा हर साल ही अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह इस तरह का ऑर्गेनाइज़ होता है, जिसमें तमाम मोमिन मोमिनात उसके अंदर स्पॉन्सर और इफ्तार की जो है वो उसकी स्पॉन्सरशिप करते हैं। आप तमाम उनसे गुजारिश है कि ना सिर्फ इन चैरिटीज़ को जो यहाँ पे आते हैं और अपील करते हैं, बल्कि अपनी इस मस्जिद को भी जो आपके फ़राइज़ और वाजिबात बनते हैं अपनी मेंबरशिप के हवाले से और दीगर डोनेशंस के हवाले से, इंशाल्लाह उसको भी याद रखेंगे। Brother Raza, you're going to be making an announcement? Inshallah, please, if you can come. We have about few minutes before Maghrib Azan. Please give him a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salamun alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight is Laylatul Qadr. Tonight, our deeds are multiplied. And what we can do with Ameer al-Momineen, عليه السلام, Shahadat of Ameer al-Momineen, he was the father of orphans. He used to care for orphans. He used to go out at night, give food to those needy. And after he passed away, those orphans had no one. So inshallah on this night we can remember orphans of Al Muhammad. In Iraq, orphans, they suffer a lot. Psychological suffering mainly, and other suffering of food, shelter, water. I want to share with you one small story that gives you a small glimpse of the impact an orphan child faces when they lose their loved ones. It's a story of a child named Tabarak. She came one day to Al-Ain with her mother to collect their monthly allowance. And they came a bit late, and little Tabarak looked visibly upset. So the staff member queried and said, "Are you okay?" She said, "We just came back from the graveyard where we visited our father." She told him, "Okay, and what happened?" She said, "I wrote a letter to my father." She said, "What did you write in this letter?" She says, "Every time I go to the graveyard, I write a letter to my dad. I tell him the grades I achieved in school and how much I miss him and love him. And then I dig a hole beside his grave and I bury this letter so that he may read it. Then I go home and I wait for his reply, but he does not reply. And this is just one story of many stories. Sometimes we talk about orphan children and we just think about it as a number. There's 90,000 orphans, but every single orphan child has a dream, has hopes. And at Al-Ain, it was a charity, as you know, that was set up by Ayatollah Sistani and currently operates under his supervision. So you can be assured that every penny you donate will go to those in need, inshallah. So I ask you tonight, inshallah, where your rewards are multiplied, where our destinies are potentially written for us today or tomorrow, please do remember orphan children. And we have a stall outside in the men's side and the female side. May Allah bless you. May Allah reward your rewards. Inshallah, may Allah bless you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Inshallah. Jazakallah, inshallah. Brother is going to be outside on next to our collection desk with the finance team, inshallah. If you can all please help as much as you can towards this noble cause. एक और अहम ऐलान जो कि हमारे पास 2 मिनट हैं, यौमुल कुद्स के हवाले से हमने 2 कोचेज़ का इत्माम किया है जो इंशाल्लाह नेक्स्ट संडे एक जो 16